So my last video compared Grindelwald and Voldemort's philosophy. In it, I bring up Voldemort's inability to defeat a little boy, whether he be 1 or 17. Today, I want to look closer at Dumbledore, the unofficial leader of the magical world. I say unofficial because even though the magical world wanted him to be Minister of Magic, he repeatedly turned down the position. But when an evil power rose in the magical world, he always takes it upon himself to lead the fight against it. He single-handedly defeated Grindelwald. Led the Order of the Phoenix. Oh, damn, I'm just now getting the name of that group. Don't judge me. Against Voldemort. And practically raised Harry Potter to defeat him again many years later. He is a hero of the magical world. But I think he was also kind of trifling. Let's start with that oft-used phrase. Hogwarts was the safest place to be. But was it really? There was the forbidden forest on the edge of Hogwarts grounds. Because yeah, it's sufficient enough to tell children to stay away from the dangerous forest in order for them to be safe. Like, I know the series takes place in the 90s, but do you remember when we had to tell kids not to eat Tide Pods? Why did they build a school for children on the edge of something called the Forbidden Forest? There's the Walloping Willow, who knocks out anyone who gets near it. And let's not forget that the Walloping Willow was planted to cover up the fact that one of the students was a werewolf in the first place. Then that student came back and taught defense against the dark arts. Like, I get it. We love Lupin. And he had a potion he could take during the full moon that would keep him from changing into a werewolf once he was older. But one, the potion didn't exist when Lupin was a child. If you found out that your child was attending a school with someone who could turn into a murderous animal once a month, it would give you pause also. Especially when you find out that the school knew all along and was depending on a moving tree to keep your child from getting murdered in their sleep. And two, Dumbledore could have avoided the backlash at the end of the year by being upfront with the parents. He could have been like, hey, Remus is a personal friend of mine. Yes, he is a werewolf, but as long as he takes his potion every night of the full moon, he'll be all right. People loved Dumbledore. If he had controlled the narrative, Remus could have kept on teaching. Instead, they find out after Remus neglects to take his potion and turns into a werewolf on the school grounds. Then there was that giant squid in the lake. Also on Hogwarts grounds where students would study outside. Then every single year, a student would almost lose their life except for the year where one did. First year, Harry, Ron, and Hermione almost died getting past the professor-laid traps, which includes a 3-headed oversized dog that led to the Sorcerer's Stone. The stone belonged to an old friend of Dumbledore's and apparently wasn't even safe in Gringotts.
Gringotts, the wizard bank. Take no safer place, not one, except perhaps Hogwarts.
Plus, Harry had an altercation with Voldemort, the first of many. Second year, a centuries-old snake that lived in the castle in a secret chamber got out and almost killed multiple students and a mangy cat. People knew about this snake for centuries and never thought, hey, let's look for this humongous snake and kill it. Not even after it got out and killed a student decades before. Third year, a dangerous criminal broke into the school, a werewolf was teaching a class, and a grown-ass man was masquerading as a student's pet. Ironically, all 3 of them used to be friends. Fourth year, a student dies in a student competition. Also, Dumbledore managed to not notice that the professor he had hired to teach defense against the dark arts was not the man he hired, but a Death Eater drinking a polyjuice potion, even after he taught the 3 unforgivable curses to the students. Fifth year, Dumbledore hires one of the creatures who live in the Forbidden Forest to teach a class. You know, the forest too dangerous for the students to enter.
The forest is not safe at this time, especially for you.
Sixth year, Death Eaters come to the school and kill Dumbledore. And frankly, by then, no one should be surprised.
Oh, there's a big surprise! That's an incredible... I think I'm gonna have a heart attack and die from that surprise!
Side note, Dumbledore immediately believed that Hagrid didn't open the Chamber of Secrets the year the student died and helped him get a job at Hogwarts.
It was my word against Hagrid's. Only Dumbledore seemed to think he was innocent. He certainly kept an annoyingly close watch on me after that.
But where was that same faith when Sirius was framed for Peter Pettigrew's murder?
I did my waiting! 12 years of it! In Azkaban!
Why would Sirius need to murder Peter if Sirius was the one who gave up James and Lily's location? What did Peter have to do with it? He didn't even take the time to question Sirius because of course Sirius would have told him the truth. Even if he didn't believe what Sirius said, he could have taken Sirius's memories like he did with Slughorn and he would have known if the memories were altered. Now, let's look at how he did poor Harry. I know there is a because plot reason for Harry staying with the Dursleys until he is of age. And you know how I hate when things happen in the story just because the plot needs it to. It always feels disingenuous and forced. But it really felt forced in Harry Potter because for the first 14 years of his life, Voldemort was a disembodied spirit. Harry didn't need to go live with the Dursleys until after his 4th year. Dumbledore could have found other ways to protect Harry until Voldemort got his body back. Because he really wasn't a threat until after he reunited with Peter Pettigrew after the 3rd year. It's kind of like Voldemort wouldn't have been able to come back if Dumbledore had just talked to Sirius all those years ago. I mean, seriously, he gave Snape the benefit of the doubt and he was an actual Death Eater.
Severus Snape was indeed a Death Eater, and prior to Lord Voldemort's downfall, turned spy for us at great personal risk. Today's no more a Death Eater than I am.
If Dumbledore had tried any other solution until Voldemort came back, Harry could have had love and affection in his life for the first 14 years. He could have been living with his rich godfather the whole time. And let's not forget, it was Dumbledore's isolation of Harry that led to Sirius's death. He ignored Harry for a whole year.
Look at me!
Let petty-ass Snape give him occlumency lessons that was supposed to protect his mind from Voldemort. Yet didn't follow up with Snape at all because then he would have found out that the lessons had stopped. Even though he knew Harry and Snape couldn't stand each other. And forget about the occlumency lessons. The whole Order of the Phoenix knew that the only people who can get the prophecy about Harry and Voldemort were Harry and Voldemort. And Voldemort was not about to come out into the open just yet. So why didn't they just plainly tell Harry that, hey, Voldemort is going to try to trick you to go to the Department of Mysteries to try to get this prophecy about you, so don't do it. Harry knew he was probably walking into a trap, but since he had been isolated all year, he felt like he had no one to turn to. If he had been in regular contact with the Order, he could have went to one of them and had them confirm that Sirius was all right. Side note number 2, I really hate that she introduced Sirius's mirror. Basically, Sirius gave Harry a mirror that he had to match to. So if Harry ever wanted to talk to Sirius, all he had to do was look into the mirror and call Sirius's name, and Sirius would appear in the mirror, of course. But when Harry really needed to speak to Sirius, the mirror was ignored. To the point where I'm just yelling at the book, "Get the freaking mirror!" But it was ignored because plot reasons, which meant it didn't have to be introduced at all. Back to Dumbledore. But no, let's keep unnecessary secrets from Harry, which is why Harry destroyed Dumbledore's office after Sirius died, and Dumbledore sat there calmly and let him do it. He knew it was his fault, and the excuse he came up with was by denying Harry access to Dumbledore, then Voldemort wouldn't be tempted to get into Harry's mind.
I knew it was only a matter of time before Voldemort made the connection between you. I thought by distancing myself from you, as I have done all year, you'd be less tempted. Therefore, you might be more protected.
Huh? Who's the chosen one? Dumbledore or Harry? Who's the person that Voldemort has been trying to kill since he was 1 year old?
13 years it's been.
Why All of a sudden, is Dumbledore so damn important that he had to isolate Harry?
And then, who should find it but you? The very person I was most anxious to meet.
Conceited much, Albus? But let's move on to Dumbledore's master plan. Dumbledore needed Harry to destroy all of Voldemort's Horcruxes. In the book, unlike the movie, Dumbledore had at least given Harry an idea of what most of those Horcruxes were. But before he died, he knew that Harry was a Horcrux also, but still left him with the impression that he needed to destroy 7 instead of 8. And he left it up to the man that he knew Harry despised and did not trust at all to be the one to tell Harry, yeah, you're gonna have to let Voldemort kill you so he can die. He lucked into Voldemort killing Snape and Harry finding him just in time to collect his memories and see the words come from Dumbledore himself. But what if Voldemort hadn't killed Snape? What if Snape died before he can give his memories to Harry? What then, old man? What then? And for the love of God, why didn't Dumbledore leave Harry a painting in his will instead of 3 cryptic clues they would spend a year trying to decipher? We saw in Snape's memories that Dumbledore's painting was still scheming and planning with Snape after Dumbledore's death. He was telling Snape what to do, telling him when to give them the sword of Gryffindor. Why couldn't he do that for Harry, Ron, and Hermione? Why was it necessary to be secretive and hold back details from the very children who were taking down the most evil wizard that ever lived?
What makes you think you can believe anything my brother told you?
Why should he?
Keep secrets, you tell me.
I guess it would have been too much like right to lay out a comprehensive plan for them to follow, including the fact that the current headmaster of Hogwarts was on their side. Why is the solution to so many problems concerning children in fiction to lie to them? Can we all agree that lying to children or keeping relevant details away from them is dangerous and unnecessary? People are so afraid to traumatize children with the truth. You know what's more traumatizing? The child experiencing something that was completely avoidable because they were lied to.
Tell her the truth!
Just like in the Fantastic Beasts series where Dumbledore kept unnecessary secrets there. Hell, there was a whole movie called The Secrets of Dumbledore. I guess he never learned this lesson. Dumbledore is touted as one of the greatest wizards to ever live.
I fashioned myself a new name. A name I knew wizards everywhere would one day fear to speak when I became the greatest sorcerer in the world.
Albus Dumbledore is the greatest sorcerer in the world.
But he made a lot of dumb mistakes, including helping the second most evil wizard to form his philosophies and accepting the most evil wizard into his wizarding school. In taking down Grindelwald and helping Harry to take down Voldemort, he was just undoing his own mistake. So yeah, Dumbledore is majorly trifling. Hell, he even died trifling. He was slowly dying because he tried to put on Voldemort's ring Horcrux because it held the resurrection stone. The curse the ring carried started in his hand and was spreading throughout his body like a magical cancer. He should have died immediately, but Snape slowed the spell and gave him another year. And he knew he had like a year to live. Did that make him sit Harry down and tell him everything that he needed to know? No. He just sat down and made a cryptic will. The best thing about his death is that he kept another 16-year-old from ruining his soul by killing him. I guess he figured Snape's soul was already ruined. So, do you think Dumbledore is trifling? Or do you think he meant well, even though his methods were flawed? Let me know in the comments below. Also, come back next week when I talk about what makes a great adaptation. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to know the next time I upload or go live.